Tabarak, we're so happy at Open Global to have you as our keynote, as our motivational speaker, as somebody who, we really value to prep the tech and the other entrepreneurial community up. You are a lot of things, but I believe you worked in finance, but most importantly, you're someone who did 1,000 miles. And that too for a charity that is so dear to all of us Pakistanis and Pakistani Americans, TCF. Particularly, that's very dear to me as well, especially when I was working with Jazz. The major grant funding went to TCF because they were just incredible partners. So welcome. And I think the first thing I'm going to ask you is, in your motivational journey, what has struck you as something that you didn't expect about people? Like, were you surprised in how people respond to your story?
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. I don't know if I'm a motivational speaker, if I can be labeled as that, but I was just having fun during my run. And what really stuck me was how people are looking for heroes. I think, so I could see a dichotomy between the younger generation and the older generation. The older generation, I saw some of them had hope, but most of them, they had lost hope.
They were cynical.
They were cynical and they were skeptical, like, kya kar rahe ho, kya fayda iska? When I told them I'm gonna run across the country. But the youth, they were just, so excited. What you're doing is amazing. How can we participate? How can we contribute? So, it was very heartwarming.
What a thing to walk away with, that the older you get, the more you look backwards, the younger you are, the more you look forward, right? And so one of the things that His Excellency Rizwan, the ambassador, spoke both at the IT conference and at the Open Global retreat was Pakistan is a young country. Does it even matter that we're young if we don't harness the power of youth?
I'm not an expert, but I think that's an easy answer, that you have to give your youth heroes and you have to equip them with the infrastructure to, take the country forward.
And is that happening in your experience?
I have no idea, but I think there's a lot of work to be done. I'm not a policy expert, but what I saw in Pakistan, our problems for 80% of the people, they're not about how tech focused or future forward we will be. They're more about, will we have shelter, will we have food on the table, water, bathrooms. I think those are the things we don't talk about enough. Malnutrition is a big subject as well, something that I really saw in Sindh. So our problems, I think we're starting from a very negative point, but there's a long way to go, and I'm hopeful, inshallah.
You mentioned these things about your observations. You might not be, a public policy expert or somebody who does policy in Pakistan, but you have more experience than most policy people because you've taken your feet into the fields, into the mountains, into the terrains where there are lack of resources. So talk to me about terrain. Like, what did you see when you ran from the north to the south of Pakistan?
It was beautiful. I saw almost everything. So I didn't start all the way up north. I started 40 miles north of Islamabad in Hassan Abdal. So it was I was very smart about not doing the mountains. That would have been too much. But until from Hassan Abdal all the way to Lahore, it was up and down. It was hilly. I think close to Jhelum was where I faced, most hills. And then Jhelum, Lahore onwards, it was pretty flat. But what really struck me was my planning went out of the window as soon as I landed in Pakistan in October, because I chose November, because November is supposedly when the winter starts. So I wanted chilly weather when I started my run. But this November was the hottest November on record. I was running at 33 degrees Celsius in Islamabad all the way to Lahore. And by the time I got to Lahore, things had started to cool down, but with it brought smog. So it was the worst air quality anywhere in the world at the time. It felt like I was smoking plastic. For 3 days I was wearing a mask. So it was terrible. And Lahore was under a lockdown when I was running through Lahore. So a lot of my young friends who, have young families. They're even planning to move out of Lahore just because of that. But past Lahore, the terrain was flat. I saw some kind of deserts near Sakhar in Sindh. That was pretty beautiful and that was intense. What else did I see? Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Yeah.
And the universe was sending you a sign to quit. With the temperature change, with basically climate-induced temperature change, and smog also being, a human-induced climate challenge. These are very serious. First of all, congratulations on running 1,000 miles between Hassan Abdal and Lahore. Second,
Karachi.
Karachi. That's true. And I just shaved off a little bit of your run, but the congratulation really rests on not quitting. So talk to me about not quitting.
I think day 3 was when I was really, under the weather because I was consuming 6,000 calories a day. My body had started to adjust to that, and day 3 my body stopped accepting any kind of food, and I was bloated like a balloon. I couldn't even walk, and I think I woke up at 4 a.m. to start our day, and that was the only time I cried. That was the time, and
it broke you.
Yeah, and I was like, there are so many other ways to raise money. There are so many other ways to, but because I was out there in the public and I was very loud about it, I knew that I had to get to at least Lahore and then Sakhar. So my whole mantra was not to think beyond 30 seconds. And if I'm thinking beyond 30 seconds, it does not need to go beyond 30 minutes. If I can survive the next 30 minutes, then I'll go on for the 30 minutes. So I was thinking in 30 seconds and 30-minute blocks, nothing beyond that. I think that was the only time where I felt like, I was doing something that I shouldn't be doing on day 3. But other than that, I didn't even once think about quitting because I used to get super emotional thinking about the run during my trainings. But when I was actually on the run, I didn't really get emotional because I was problem solving all the time. I didn't really get a chance to absorb.
You were in implementation mode.
Yeah, we were executing. We were all over it. But when I was training in New York, I used to imagine, myself running across the country, and I'd literally have, tears in my eyes. And I think because I was so confident in my training, I knew that I'll be able to do it. And I think if you're going for something so grand, you have to trust yourself.
It is very grand. Reminds me of the movie Nayad, the woman who swam after 7 failed attempts between Mexico and Florida.
Wow.
I don't know if you've seen the movie. It's quite inspiring.
Yeah.
Something happens to people before they take on such a challenge. Did something happen to you, or was it internal or was it external?
I think it's a mix of both. I really wanted to do something for education, something that makes me feel like I'm adding some sort of value to the society. So my family has a history of working in education. My dad, he started the first school in Taxila, in the rural parts of Taxila in 1991. The whole area has now 85 to 90% literacy rate. And a lot of people credit that to my dad.
What's the name of the school?
It's called the Founders Education System. So and growing up, I saw the impact my dad had on the whole area. So I really wanted to do something with education. And when I moved to the States in 2022, I realized there's so few of Pakistanis in the country. That's when I started doing some digging. And I realized out of 500,000 international students who come to the US, less than 1% are from Pakistan, and which is a super low number, to be honest. So I did some more digging. That's when I realized how grave the situation is in terms of the education crisis in Pakistan. Because kids, they don't even make to 8th grade. I think 80% kids, they drop out before the 8th grade. So if they aren't even going to 8th grade, how will they make it to Harvard and Yale? So that's why I wanted to do something for education, but I did not know what or how. and that's when I came across. I started running at the time. Ultra running is having its moment right now. 2 years ago, it was, I think it started to pick up. Paul Johnson, he was running across America. Russ Cook, this other guy, he ran the length of Africa, 16,000 kilometers, 10,000 miles. He did it in 280 days. He got kidnapped in somewhere in Africa. He lost his passport, and then one of the African countries, they weren't letting him in. They weren't giving him a visa. So he posted on Twitter. Everybody got behind him, millions of retweets, and then because of his one Twitter post, the country, they gave him the visa and they let him continue his journey. So that was all external part. Internal part was, some inspiration and motivation from my family to do something.
I think once you're in the family of educators, I'm also like that. It does change you. You stay very grounded because you know that it's a matter of luck when one thing is on one side and the other is on the other. And you could be the fortunate, you could be the unfortunate. And so, what are you going to do? It's interesting that you didn't fundraise for your own family's school. Why did you fundraise for TCF instead?
I think TCF is more institutional. What TCF has been doing, it's a tried and tested model. The ROI was the highest. That's what I thought. Plus, with my own family system, I think my dad's is about the age where he's about to retire. And I feel like TCF is doing a much better job. And if I was to fundraise for myself or my dad's school, then somebody needed to operate that kind of capital as well. And I think TCF had that capacity. Yeah. What kind of schools is your family running? Or
no, my dad was just a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in Uganda and East Africa.
Oh, nice.
And you're right that there was a university in rural Uganda in a small town called Bale. And that place had zero literacy almost, a very tribal area, very dangerous area, generally rural, no one used to go there. And with the university came the schools and, that auxiliary system lifted up, and that's now a full-fledged city now. You see graduates after graduates making it to the Harvards, to the Ivy Leagues, and that sort of legacy is
awesome.
is really
That's
cool.
where you grew up as well?
That's where I grew up, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
nice. And when did you move back to Pakistan?
I moved somewhere around, so Uganda, then Kenya, 15 years of my life there, then Karachi, where I'm from, and then the US for my undergrad, then back to Pakistan for 20 years. Okay. And then now I'm sort of like in the US now. This is my new home.
Oh, wow. So you moved around a lot
I've moved around a lot as well. And the other thing we have in common, except for teachers as parents, is the hiking and the running thing. So I told you I've done my like K2 base camp trek. And I'll tell you that what you've done is probably, there are people who talk about doing things. And then there are people who actually get up and go. And it's not easy to be the second. I'll tell you because there's so many things that are, just leaving. For example, छुट्टी लेना काम से, बच्चों को कौन संभालेगा? Maybe, you don't have that, but similarly, you must have so many responsibilities that you had to shed to do this. Any people who helped you make that final decision? So for me, for example, like right at the end of, I was going to not do the K2 trek, and my husband went and got me trekking boots the day before. And that made all the difference. Was there something like that for you?
I think there were a lot of people. So I'll tell you how I had this, wild idea in my head from Instagram. I saw these guys, they were doing, I was like, I might as well start doing it as well. I pick up the phone, I call my mom. Before calling my mom, I called my best friend Ali in Pakistan. And he's like, bro, are you drunk or what did you do? Are you on drugs or what's happening?
Are you okay? Like, do we need an intervention?
Yeah, that's what he asked. And then I called my mom and she's like, the
first thing I was thinking was, what was your mom saying? Because, it's dangerous as well.
It was pretty dangerous, but also like I've been living away from my family since the age of 11, boarding schools, then Karachi, then the US.
Did you go to Hassan Abdal?
I was at Hassan Abdal, yeah.
That's where you started.
That's where I started. Okay. So my family, I think they've pretty much accepted, like, let them do what they do. They can think of themselves. But I think the person who was really my backbone was my brother. He helped.
Younger or older?
My older brother. He's a year and a half older than me. We're class fellows. We're best friends. So he's the guy who stayed in the shadows and when I called him, I told him, bro, like I told him the route, and he's like, why aren't you doing Lahore as well? You should go through Lahore. So my initial route was 1300 kilometers. Then he suggested we do 1600, and then he was the guy, like, he made the website, and he was the guy on the ground as well. He was my crew chief. So my brother, he was my backbone if he wasn't there, because logistically it was a nightmare to manage.
No, there's no way one can do this.
Yeah.
Not even with you need a minimum of 5-6 people.
Yeah.
Just from there's so
Logistics,
much logistics, paperwork, also
getting
nutrition, for instance, permission, like what you're eating, how you're feeling, the doctor. It's quite a feat.
Plus, I was running on the national highway where you see vehicles moving at like 100 to 120 kilometers an hour, or like 60 to 80 miles an hour, and so it was pretty dangerous. We got 2 close calls where we had an accident like 10 to 15 meters close to us. So I had an RV right behind me and a smaller vehicle in front of me, and I was sandwiched in between them. My brother, he used to sit in the car ahead of me, and he was making all the calls to like all the police people and making sure everybody's being well fed. And then I think on the fundraising side, because getting to $1 million, we didn't get to $1 million.
Almost, right?
We almost got there.
Yeah.
But, just thinking about it required a lot of planning. So getting the sponsors, reaching out to whoever and whatever. So my friend Ariba, she's my friend from IBA. So she really helped, make those intros and like help me with that. And then I think from TCF, there was this guy, Eric Temple. He helped me a lot, just managing the whole thing. He was a project manager for it. Yeah. And then we had 2 people on ground who were doing content all the time, just trying to get the word out. And then on our crew, we had 2 more people. So one guy who was taking care of my nutrition and making sure all the groundwork is being done.
Yeah.
And then we had a driver. So the guy was driving the support vehicle. He was like, I will protect you, come what may.
Those people on the front lines really make all the difference. For me also, when I was doing the trek, it's the porters. I would give up now and then, like, because similarly to you, like, it was very hot.
Yeah.
I did the trek in July, so it was supposed to be hot.
Oh, wow.
But, as you hit the Baltoro Glacier, it gets cooler. So the hotter it is, the better. But those 3 days, no one prepares you for. So I was, like, heat stroked, and then I would give up and, sit under a rock and say, I don't want to live anymore. And they would wait for me and, like, hydrate me. And, like, they are the ones that did it for me.
Yeah.
The porters, the drivers.
Yeah, 100%.
What was his name?
So his name was Shakib, and he wasn't even the guy had never even run. And he used to run with me 10 kilometers every day. Yeah, he used to run / walk with me. And then he, like, whenever they'd see a big crowd coming, he's already very skinny.
Oh, okay.
He's already very skinny. But when we were running through Sindh, we were told that it can be dangerous in some parts, especially like on Sindh-Punjab border.
Yeah.
And that guy, he was like, before someone kills you, they have to kill me. And I'm like, and
so
then
sweet.
these guys, they themselves had not even made past. I think one of them had not even gone to school, and the other guy, he dropped out in grade 3 or grade 4.
What a contribution to education.
And whenever we were meeting locals, they were the ones telling them, oh, TCF ek idara hai, TCF runs these schools, aap apne bachon ko TCF mein bhejein. So getting those guys as ambassadors of education in TCF, I think that was a big win.
Yeah, the localization of the process, I think, was quite wonderful. Well, really amazing that your bro started it all, because you do need that one person to believe in you.
Yeah, 100%.
And what about your knees? How are your knees doing? Because there's a physical toll that running takes, and 1,000 miles is an ultramarathon that will, even though you're young, will do a number on you. Yeah,
so my knees, they're doing perfectly fine. I think I might have developed something for life on my lower left shin. So that is something I need to get checked. Every time I move it, I feel a click. But other than that, I think physically I exceeded my own expectations. I did not know that's this is what my body can do. And on day 35, day 34, when we entered Karachi, we got like a big number of hundreds of runners that joined me.
Karachi is a big running community.
Karachi is a big running community. On the final day, I think I had at least 1,000 people run with me.
Yeah.
And when they were running with me, and they were like proper marathon runners, proper athletes. I'm not an athlete.
Yeah.
I'm just a guy who, decided that he's going to run across the country. And I'm not a fast runner. And on the very last day, last 10 kilometers or last 10 miles, I was running as fast as anything, and they couldn't catch me.
You're pumped up, right?
I was pumped up.
This is home run.
Yeah, this is home run, and that was the victory lap. But I think the biggest and the happiest moment for me was when I saw my mom and dad. So my mom, she started crying and she was emotional. That's okay, moms are emotional, okay, cool.
But your dad also
But
probably.
my dad, I saw him he wasn't able to come up to me and hug me because he was trying to hide his cries, his tears. And then on the very last day, he's like, Beta, I've been serving this community in education, our local area, for the last 30 years, actually 34 years. And he's like, what you've done is probably equal to what I did through my 34 years, your 34-day journey. So
and that's the trophy.
That's the trophy.
Yeah,
that's the validation you need from your dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and what a line, to kind of equate that impact to this impact. And he's probably right in some ways.
I don't think he is, but I think what he's done is amazing, and nobody can replicate that. But
I think he means in terms of beneficiaries, awareness about it, because you sold the industry of education, then you talked about and it has an intergenerational impact, both his and yours.
100%.
But since he's an educator, he knows what he's talking about. If he gave you that award, take it.
I will take it every day of the week.
That is a beautiful way to end today. Tabarak, I'm very honored that I get to speak to you. I'm a big fan and a huge fan. I joined the running community in Islamabad with my friend Rehman.
Okay.
I don't know if you know him.
I've met Rehman.
Yeah, Rehman's
amazing
awesome,
guy.
and he's sort of my coach, and got me into running. And we all in Pakistan have a lot of reverence for you. And we mention you. We think about at dinner table, you're a frequent conversation. And to have you here, talk to us at the Global Open Forum is fantastic. So thank you so much.
Thank you, of course. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Take care.